Chapter 7. Some School Words. I wore my brand new things back to the room 9. They looked very beautiful on me, except my new pink high tops were too big, and my feet were sliding around in them. Before I sat down, I looked at Lucille's red chair. Then I tapped on her. "I'm sorry, Lucille," I said, "but red is my favorite color, and so I would like that chair of yours, I think." Lucille looked very upset at me. "But red is my favorite color too, Junie B." I patted her. "I know, Lucille," I said nicely, "but you still must give it to me. It's the rules." And so she did. "Now I'm the winner for sure, aren't I?" she asked. I made my shoulders go up and down. "I don't know, Lucille," she said. "That Grace said she might have some cash in her purse." After that, Mrs. passed out construction paper, and we cut out autumn leaves for our bulletin board. Autumn is the school word for fall. We sprinkled our leaves with shiny glitter. Also, I glittered all of my hair, and I pasted some to my eyebrows. Then Mrs. confiscated my shiny glitter jar. Confiscate is the school word for yanked. Yanked it out of my hand. Just then, Mrs. Gutzman knocked on our door, and she came into the room with our milk and cookies. "Hooray! Hooray for Mrs. Gutzman!" I shouted at her. "Guess what, Mrs. Gutzman? I got 3 snacks today. See? I have 3 snack tickets." Mrs. walked over to my chair. She stared down at me. "How did you get 2 extra tickets, Junie B?" she asked. "Did you find them on the playground?" Then she took 2 of my extra tickets away, and she held them way high in the air. "Did anyone lose their snack tickets today?" she said to the class. "No," I hollered. "Those are my tickets." Lucille and Grace gave them to me. Mrs. raised her eyebrows. "Lucille, did you give Junie B your snack tickets today?" she asked. "Yes," said Lucille. "That's because she made me." "No, I didn't, you dumb Lucille," I said. "I did not make you." Mrs. said, "Be quiet," to me. She folded her arms. "Grace, did you give your snack ticket to Junie B too?" Then that Grace started to cry because she thought she was in trouble. Mrs. tapped her foot. "Please come get your snack ticket, Grace," she said. And so then the Grace walked to my table in just her socks. And Mrs. made squinty eyes at her feet. "Where are your shoes, Grace?" she asked. That's when big fat baby Grace started crying very hard, and she pointed at her shoes. Mrs. peeped under my table. "Junie B. Jones," she hollered, "why are you wearing Grace's shoes?" Mrs. sounded dangerous. "Because," I said, kind of scared. "Because why?" said Mrs. "Because it's the rule," I explained. Then Mrs. bent down very close to my ear. "What rules?" "The rules for who gets to be the first to see my monkey brother," I said. Mrs. rolled her eyes way back on her head. "Put your own shoes back on and come with me, young lady," she said. Then me and her walked into the hall together, and she made me tell her what happened on the playground. After that, I had to give Lucille back the locket and the sweater with the Scotty dog on it, and I had to give Grace back the real genuine fake ring from cereal. Then Mrs. wrote a note, and she said for me to take it to the office. The office is where the boss of the school lives. His name is Principal. Yes, but I don't think I would like to go down there today, I said, or else my mother might get mad at me. Mrs. tapped her foot and then she took hold of my hand. Let's go, young lady. March, she said. And so then me and her marched to the office. March is the school word for pulled me way too fast. Chapter 8. Me and Principal. The school office is a scary place. It has loud ringing phones and a typing lady who is a stranger and a row of chairs where bad kids sit. Mrs. plopped me into the blue one. Wait here, she said. Yeah, only I'm not bad, I whispered to myself. Then I put my sweater on my head so nobody would see me in the bad kid's chair. After that, I peeked down my long sweater sleeve and I saw Mrs. out of my handhole. She was knocking on the principal's door. Then she went in there, and my heart felt very pumpy because she was tattling on me, I think. After a while, she came out again. Principal came with her. Principal has a baldy head, which looks like rubber. Also, he has big hands and heavy shoes, and a suit made out of black. Could I see you in my office for a minute, Junie B? He said. And so then I had to go in there all by myself, and I sat in the big wood chair, and Principal made me take the sweater off my head. So what's this all about? He said. Why do you think your teacher brought you down here today? Because, I said very quiet. Because why? Said Principal. Because that Grace shot off her big fat mouth, I explained. Then Principal folded his arms and he said for me to start at the beginning. And so I did. First I told him about how I spent the night at my grandpa's house. We had delicious waffles for breakfast, I said, and I had 5 of them. Only my grandpa didn't know where I put them all, except I put them way in here. Then I opened my mouth and showed Principal where my waffles went. After that, I told him how Grandma Miller came home from the hospital, and she told me I had a monkey brother. For real, honest, and truly. And so then I told the children at show and tell. I said, and at recess, Lucille and that Grace started giving me lots of pretty stuff because they wanted to be the first to see him. Except too bad for me, I said, because when we came inside, Mrs. found out about the snack tickets, and then the dumb Grace shot off her big fat mouth about her shoes, and so I got marched down here, and I had to sit in the bad kid's chair. Then I smoothed my skirt. The end, I said nicely. Principal rubbed his head. It looks like rubber. Junie B, maybe we should go back to when your grandmother came home from the hospital, he said. Can you remember exactly what she said about your brother being a monkey? I scrunched my eyes really tight to remember. Yes, I said. Grandma Miller said he was the cutest little monkey she ever saw. Then Principal closed his eyes. Ah, he said kind of quiet. Now I get it. After that, he smiled a little bit. You see, Junie B, when your grandmother called your brother a little monkey, she didn't mean he was a real little monkey. She just meant he was, well, cute. I know he's cute, I said. That's because all monkeys are cute, except for I don't like the big kind that can kill you. Principal shook his head. No, Junie B, that's not what I mean. I mean your brother isn't really a monkey at all. He's just a little baby boy. I made a frowny face. No, he's not a little baby boy, I told him. He's a real alive baby monkey with black hair, fur, and long fingers and toes. You can ask my Grandma Miller if you don't believe me. And so, guess what Principal did then? He called her. That's what. He called Grandma Miller right up on the phone. And then he talked to her, and then I talked to her too. Hey, Grandma, I said very shortly. Guess what just happened down here? Principal said that the baby brother isn't a real alive monkey. Only he is, 'cause you told me that. Remember? You said he was a monkey. You really and honestly and truly. Then Grandma Miller said she was very sorry, but she didn't mean he was a real monkey. She just meant he was cute, just like Principal explained to me. And so then I felt very droopy inside. Yeah, only what about all his black hair and his long fingers and toes, I said. And what about the bed that looks like a cage and the wallpaper with the jungle friends on it? But Grandma Miller kept on saying that my new brother was just a really cute baby. And so I finally didn't want to talk to her anymore, and I hung up the phone. Then I bent my head way down, and my eyes got a little bit of wet in them. Darn it, I said very quiet. After that, Principal gave me a tissue, and he said, I'm sorry, to me. Then he held my hand, and me and him walked back to the room 9. Chapter 9, Pigs and Ducks and Stuff. Principal went into room 9 with me. Then he clapped his giant hands together. Boys and girls, may I please have your attention, he said. I would like to explain what happened during show and tell today. It's about Junie B. Jones and her new baby brother. Just then that Jim I hate jumped right out of his chair. He's not a monkey, is he? He shouted very loud. I knew it. I knew he wasn't a monkey. I made a big fist at him. How would you like this up your nose, you big dumb Jim? I hollered. Then Principal frowned at me, and so I smiled. I hate that guy, I said nicely. After that, Principal took a big breath. Boys and girls, there's a good reason why Junie B told you that her baby brother was a monkey, he said. Yeah, it was all my Grandma Miller's fault, I interrupted, because she told me that my brother was a little monkey, only she didn't mean he was a real little monkey. She just meant that he was cute. Only who the heck knew that dumb thing? Principal made another frown at me. Then he talked some more. You see, boys and girls, he said, sometimes adults say things that can be very confusing to children. Like, what if you heard me talking about a lucky duck? You might think I was talking about a real live duck. But lucky duck means a lucky person. Right, said Mrs. And when we call someone a busy bee, we don't mean he's a real bee. We just mean he's a hard worker. Hey, I just thought of another one. I was very excited. A dumb bunny isn't a real alive bunny either. It's just a plain old dumb guy. Then my friend Lucille raised her hand. I've got one too, she said. Sometimes my Nana calls my daddy a couch potato. Only he's not a real potato, he's just a lazy bum. Yeah, and I'm not a big pig, said my new boyfriend Ricardo. But my mom says I eat like one. After that, a whole bunch of other kids said they eat like pigs too. Only a boy named Donald said he eats like a horse. And crybaby William eats like a bird. Just then it was time for the bell to ring, and so me and Principal said bye-bye to each other, and I went to my seat. Then I gave Lucille back her red chair. She was very nice to me. I'm sorry that your brother really isn't a monkey, Junie B, she said. Thank you, Lucille, I said. I'm sorry that your daddy isn't a real couch potato, too. After that, the bell rang for us to go home. And so me and Lucille and that Grace held hands, and we walked outside together. Only then a very wonderful thing happened, and it's called I heard my mother's voice. Junie B, over here, honey. Daddy and I are over here. Then I looked at the parking lot, and I saw her, and so I run to the car speedy quick. And then me and Mother hugged and hugged, because I hadn't seen her for a very whole day. Then my daddy got out of the car, and he had a little yellow blanket in his arms, and guess what was in that thing? My new baby brother, that's what. He was very tiny and pinkish, except his head had a lot of black hair on it. I touched it. It felt like fuzzy. Just then Ricardo walked over and he saw my teeny brother. Cool hair, he said. I smiled very big. I know it, Ricardo, I said. And guess what else? He doesn't even smell like PU. After that, I got in the car and told Mother about Lucille's locket, and she said maybe I could get a locket too. I could put my brother's teeny head in there. Yes, and I would like some pink high tops, please, I said very polite. Maybe, said Mother. Oh boy, I said, because maybe doesn't mean no. That's why. And so then I lifted up the blanket and I peeped at the baby brother one more time. So what do you think of him, Junie B? Said Mother. I smiled very big. I think he's the cutest little monkey I've ever saw, I said. Then Mother laughed, and I laughed too. The end. And that's it for our story for today, Junie B. Jones and the Little Monkey Business.